Good evening or afternoon, something like that, late on in a Friday. Savva from Savva Talks Football, joined by the wonderful Kuva 99. Kuva, how we doing, man? You good?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad, mate. No
Good.
frustrations because I'm not watching any of the World Cup, so that's fine.
Fair enough. I'll be honest, it's starting to 4 games a day. It feels it's a bit monotonous, I'll be honest. So,
Looks like
yeah.
there's a lot of nil-nils as well, doesn't it?
I feel like the world has got a complete shortage of strikers, but we're going to talk about strikers a bit later. Actually, our first subject is about strikers, but strikers in general, we're going to discuss a bit later on. Welcome to anyone who is in the chat. Hopefully, you're ready for some Spurs chat rather than some World Cup chatter. Kuva, Richarlison is the first thing I want to talk about today. And I've entitled this Richarlison worth 60 million. Now, of course, Richarlison, not talking about the World Cup, but did score a brace for Brazil last night. Since then, I have now seen a million posts as to why this guy is brilliant and Spurs fans need to appreciate him. And he's going to be excellent when he's given that run of games through the middle. So, talk to me, Kuva. Richarlison for Brazil plays through the middle as their number 9. Is he ever going to get that chance to do it at Tottenham Hotspur, all the while Harry Kane is at the club?
Not on a regular basis. We're not going to drop Kane for Richarlison on a permanent basis, are we? So, no, it's unlikely. It's just he gives that extra option. He is cover for Kane when he's not playing. And we do have the option of playing 2 relatively big, strong blokes up and through the middle when we need to. Yeah. So, it's a useful player to have. I've said I always liked him. I just don't think he's really hit the ground running for us. He's struggled a bit, hasn't he? Playing out of position, lost, not that great on form, but his work rate's always there, his effort's always there. I've got to appreciate that side of his game. I think it is a case of we would just like to see what he can do going through the middle, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we could, but really, are we going to see it? And the thing I have with this is, whenever we have international games, right, a Spurs player might do something great. Actually, scrap that. Not just a Spurs player. A player might do something great for their international team. For their national side, and then we go, oh my God, look at that, they're brilliant, yada yada yada. But the way I look at it is this: is what I've seen of him at Tottenham hasn't looked great. Now, is that because we're playing him out of position? And does playing out of position, especially when you're meant to be a Brazil international, does that excuse for the lack of everything else in your game rather than just goal scoring? So I know there's a lot to chew there, but do you see what I'm saying?
It's a difficult one. Got to also remember, not everybody settles into a new club straight away. Sure. He didn't start the season. He had to wait quite a long time before he got his first kick of the ball. Injuries on top, and then in break up with international things. He's not really had much of a run, really, has he? I think it's one of those ones you have to be a bit patient with him. There is definitely something there. We have seen it at times. Clearly, he can do it for Brazil. I think he's got a great record for Brazil now. I think I was reading something like 21 goals in about 40 games, something like that.
Yeah,
that's a good strike rate, especially at international level. So I just think it's more a case of be patient rather than just write him off this early. There's something about the bloke. I've always sort of admired him in a way.
My thing, more than obviously writing off, and like Phil P has said here, let's not write Richie off yet. For me, it's not about writing him off. My concern, bringing this right back to the beginning of this conversation, which was only a few minutes ago, is if we're led to believe that his best output as a footballer is playing through the middle. My concern is, and we're going to go deep into this with the Kane bit a bit later, but all the while Harry Kane's there, Kuva, does that mean then that we're never going to see the best of him unless Harry Kane has a substantial injury and he gets a run of 10 to 15 games through the middle?
Or he starts playing up front with him.
Okay.
Of course, there is also the option of Kane dropping a little bit deeper. I mean, that seems to be where he's at his best now, doesn't it? Just that sort of link-up play, almost if you have a false 9, the Kane would be a false 10, really, wouldn't he?
Sure.
There's possibilities. I think that's the most important thing to look at. it is a squad game nowadays. We're lucky Kane stayed relatively fit for the majority of the time.
Yeah.
We finally got somebody who can offer that sort of robust sort of play through the middle. Clearly, he's got an eye for goal when he's in the box. And he's got the physical strength and hold up play that can do the job. Obviously, he's not going to be the same as Kane. Nobody is. That's why Kane's so highly valued. But I think he'll be good for us. I think he'll turn out to be quite a decent asset over the course of time. I think we're just looking for the instant returns, really, aren't we? But it doesn't worry me because the goals are not a problem with Spurs, are they?
Right.
It's at the other end that we've got the real problems.
It is, and look, we'll come on to the defensive woes a bit later. I mean, my question to you would be this then: even if Richarlison did play through the middle, let's assume Kane's. Look, the only way we know that's going to happen is Kane not playing, unless he changes formation or, as you said, drops Kane into a deeper playmaker, false 10, as you said. I like you've just created a position. That's wonderful. The false 10. Would we then, without Kane in the team? Would we create enough for a Richarlison up front? Because I think the beauty of Harry Kane is a lot of his goals come from himself. Like he's got that ability to drop deep, to link up play, to play those 1-2s. Richarlison for me is more of an old school number 9 where chances are created for him. Have we got the creation without Kane in the team to make that come off for Richarlison?
Well, we've got Perisic on the left.
Right.
There we go.
Right. Okay. I thought there was going to be more to that sentence.
No, that's it.
Okay. We've got Perisic. I mean, that's my worry, right? Is that, as I said, we're going to come on to Kane in a little bit, but if Kane wasn't to be here and Richarlison was to be your number 9, out and out number 9 for a season, say, it really would then depend on surely having some creativity behind him. A number 10, a Maddison, a Paqueta.
Of course, I forgot Kulusevski. Of course, I mean he will create. There's no doubt about it. But you are looking at limited options. I mean, if this system's in full flow, both wing backs should be bombing forward, crosses in on a regular basis. We're talking 10 sort of reasonable quality crosses a game isn't unreasonable to be asking for over the course of 90 minutes. You get those sort of chances into him. He is going to get on the end of things. If he doesn't score himself, he's taking defenders away from other players that will have to go with him, creating space. He's one of those players that can create that kind of havoc. And we have seen it. Clearly see it for Brazil. Keep him in that middle, get him in the box, get the ball in there. He is putting the chances away.
I mean, the key thing that you said there in that sentence for me, and just playing devil's advocate, is Brazil. When you're playing in the box for Brazil, you've got Neymar this side, Vinicius Junior that side, or Rafinha, or Anthony from Man United. You've then got players like Lucas Paqueta. You've got a lot of chances being created. I would just like to see how ruthless he is if he had a full run of games, 15, 20 games up front in a team that doesn't have that. I just worry whether there'd be enough from him as a centre forward. And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Is he just a goal scorer?
Compared to Kane, yeah, definitely.
Right.
He is. I mean, he's a workhorse as well. So he's like first line of defence if you're going to be pressing aggressively, which we don't really so much, do we?
Yeah.
It was always a strange fit, if you like, for the team. It's a very expensive backup option at the moment. But I'd fully believe if you do fix the other areas of the team, mainly the wing backs, you will start seeing a lot more value for money out of Richarlison. I think he'll start getting a few goals. But it always comes back to that same thing: is problem areas in the team are creating problems the other end of the pitch as well.
Exactly. And one thing that I want to, Luan's made a point here about, striker position is clearly Richarlison's best position, and he will never be the number 1 starter in the striker position while Kane is at Spurs. Maybe he'll be his replacement when Kane leaves. Now, I want to move on to this now because I'm still keeping talking about Richarlison, bringing Kane into the fold a bit more. I did a video this morning about this, about, you know, we're all looking at it that, oh, look, we bought Richarlison as a backup, right? We bought him in as that secondary option to Kane. We haven't had one for years. This is great. If I was going to be a little bit cynical, you know, you wouldn't put it past me being cynical, Kuva, that is he being bought for the simple reason that Harry Kane is not going to sign a new contract? They know this, and they're already thinking about his replacement.
Well, you've always got to think in terms of this sort of thing anyway. You can't be left with no options. So if a player is going to go, or a massive bid comes in that you can't turn down, or even a career-ending injury, you've got to have these options. Kane is not going to play forever for Spurs. That's fact. So you do have to keep looking ahead. I think it's better to have somebody that's bedded into the squad and, you know, has a good feel for the team and playing with his teammates. That time when Kane does eventually move on or retire, we have got somebody. But hopefully it's not for quite a few years yet. And we've got both options available, because that's what we've been lacking for so long. I still think Richarlison was a good move. It's just we needed more than that, and we didn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, as I've always said, look, I suppose my opinion of Richarlison, I don't want to admit it, is probably somewhat skewed because of what you've just said there, because I see it that the 60 million spent on him, whilst we should have money elsewhere, I feel like that should have gone somewhere else. But I equally understand that's not his fault. But that frustrates me somewhat. But if we look at the
simple for me, you look at that 150 million cash injection, we didn't spend 50 of it. So the money wasn't a problem, was it?
No, absolutely. And look, I mean, had we have bought him plus a right wing back, plus a centre back, plus a creative midfielder, I'd be sitting here going, God, what fabulous options. I suppose the frustration from my point of view has always been, yes, we needed another goal-scoring option to Kane, but we did have Kane. We have a world-class player in that position, whereas the other positions, we don't have world-class. We don't even have good players at wing-back or at centre-back, and we didn't try and kind of plug those gaps. But we'll come to the transfer market later. I want to talk about the Kane situation. So we are getting to that point now, right, where this is now going to start being talked about more and more. I don't think it will throughout the World Cup, but I think once we turn to January, the questions are going to start being asked by the media, by fans, more and more and more of, hang on, Harry Kane's only got 18 months left. What is going to happen? And it's the questions, Kuva. Does he sign? Does he run his contract down? Does he sign a new contract? Does he get sold this summer to get some money for him before he goes on a free like Judas did? You know, so where are you at with the whole Kane 18-month left to go?
Right. The only way I see us selling him will be as if we're going all in on a massive rebuild and basing it around young players. And we're going for probably at that point, we're probably looking at a change of manager as well, in my opinion. If Conte's staying, he wants these experienced, ready to play players at the top of their game. So Kane will be staying. It makes no sense for us to sell him for the sake of it. If it's just for the money and then carry on as normal, pointless, just weakening the team. So the only option for me is that cash in cash in option. That would include Sonny as well, you'd have to say, and just literally cleaning the decks and doing.
But when you say that cash in, when you say cash in, Kuva, I mean, how much is a Harry Kane worth? Let me get there before we all know what he's worth. But what is a Harry Kane worth with a year left on his contract? Because that considerably reduces, I'm guessing, the value of a player. Well, I'm not guessing, it does. It considerably reduces that. And then I guess the kind of problem that Daniel Levy, you know, the problem that he has to resolve in his head is, do I get some money from now, whether that's, I don't know, 60, 80 million versus another year of 25, 30 goals, but losing him on a free? Now, this is all hypothetical, of course, because he might sign a new contract. But at that stage, what does Daniel Levy do for the good of Tottenham Hotspur?
Resign. No,
yes,
right.
That is the correct answer for any other aspect. Yes,
we'll wrap it up now, then, shall we?
Right. Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, that's brilliant.
No, I think that despite the fact we know the brilliance of Kane, I absolutely love the bloke. But the club is bigger at the end of the day, and if we are in danger of losing him for nothing, it is better to have some money to at least use on another player to bring in than go completely, without. Because I mean, what will the 25 to 30 goals bring us for that last season from him playing? We're still not in the position where we're going to be winning anything. Got to look a little bit longer term, and sometimes these situations are painful, but you just have to do the right thing. You've got to get some money for that
before, right? We've been here before. Look, this wouldn't be the first time that we've, again, before everyone has a go at me, hypothetical. We don't know what he's going to do, but we've lost Bale, we've lost Modric, we lost Berbatov, we lost. I mean, you and I can go back a bit further. We lost Teddy Sheringham, we lost Paul Gascoigne, we lost Gary Lineker. Do you know what I mean? We lost Glenn Hoddle. Life does move on, and I'm at the stage now where I won't even be pissed off if Kane leaves, because for me, Spurs fans might think this is a really weird way of looking at it. For me, Kuva, I'm just amazed he's still here. I'm amazed that he has stayed at Tottenham for a decade and given us what he has without us giving back, if you know what I mean. And I don't mean salary. I mean giving back in terms of top players to play with week in, week out.
Yeah, I kind of know what you mean. For me, we squandered like that peak era we had under Pochettino and Kane and even Dele Alli on top form and Ericsson. You list that first 11 off. Yeah. We really blew it there because we needed just those one or two extra players in the squad that could have come in, stepped in when some of the big names were missing, or come off the bench to change a game around. And we could have had a trophy or two during that period. We definitely should have. Now we're struggling to catch up with the likes of Newcastle emerging as well now. It's going to be even harder to win something, especially if you're looking at the league, which is what basically Conte does. Yeah. That is a hell of an ask now.
Of course it is. I mean, back a few years ago, like you were saying there, if we had added 2 or 3 at the time, lots of clubs were in a rebuild phase, right? And, during the Poch era, so to speak, there was a lot of, I mean, Man U weren't what they were. They just lost Ferguson and going through some bad times. Man City were not what they are now with Pep Guardiola. Chelsea were in and out. One season they were winning it, the next season they were finishing 10th or 8th. Liverpool weren't the kind of juggernaut they've been for the last 5-6 seasons. But now you've got Liverpool, they'll be back. You've got Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea spending for fun. Man United are going to spend more money and have got a great manager.
Man United's one, I think, might put in a sizable bid for Kane. If there's a sniff of him being available for that, or in any way, shape, or form, it'd be a brilliant fit for what they're trying to do at the moment.
For sure. I mean, we'll talk about Newcastle, etc., in a minute. In terms of a Kane bid, but let's talk about this. Where will realistic Kane bids come from, and are you expecting them to come? Is January too soon? Do you think for bids? Are we looking at more the summer? And do you expect bids to come all the while he has not put ink on the paper?
I think if anything's going to happen, it'll be the summer for me. Yeah. I think that's when clubs do their major bulk of their spending. We all know this. We all talk about it's traditionally very difficult to sign players in January anyway. So I think with a mega sort of move to deal that would be Harry Kane, we'd be having a look at a sort of somebody equal or sort of an ambitious signing to replace him at the very least. I don't see that happening in January. I think that's way too much to get your heads around.
Yeah.
I think
Can you imagine? Can you imagine Kane leaving in January? Can you imagine our fan base?
It's just it would. I know what would put a lot of pressure on a certain somebody, and that wouldn't be such a bad thing in that respect. But yeah, it would just basically be saying, hoping to do something this season. Nah, pulled the plug. It's
Yeah.
Because there's no obvious replacement. You look anywhere around the world. I mean, who's a natural fit to do what Harry Kane does? Very few players are in that category. Very, very few.
Yeah,
I think we're just basically then we will be looking at in a way perhaps more forced into a Conte style of play.
Right.
Getting the personnel that fit a more traditional role. Kane's that enigma, isn't he? Because he floats between the 9 and the 10 positions.
Yeah. Sure.
It's not. I think that's why there was that conversation we were having earlier in the season. Conte wants Kane to be more a traditional centre forward. You see it this season. He is getting amongst the goals a lot more.
For sure.
Is it detracting from the rest of his game? Yeah, I'd say it is. Which means, are we developing the rest of the team to keep him as a spearhead for the main goal scoring threat? It looks like that's what we're trying to do. So I can't see anything being done in January. You can't just pull out of it and just hope for the best. So we're going to have big summertime if that's happening. But it's just big anyway, isn't it? Uncertainty is the key word, I think.
I feel like the whole thing surrounding Spurs all the time, every single window, every year I've been a Spurs fan, the word uncertainty would probably sum us up wonderfully. And this year is no different. People can pretend, Conte's here. It's great. For me, it's still uncertain. Let's look then. Let's move to the summer. Kane hasn't signed a new contract. We're going to play that game, all right? Where are these bids coming from? I'm going to ask you about a club, and then you tell me the realisticness that, one, they would approach him, and two, that he would have interest in going there, because obviously that's for him to move, right, at this stage in his career, you would think he can't really be going for more projects. But let me ask you about the clubs. Let's start with the obvious. The club that needs a striker. The club that has just been dragged through the mud by a certain Cristiano Ronaldo. Man United. They've just signed Casemiro, Eriksen, Martinez, Anthony, Malacia. Apparently, they're going to be in talks with Gakpo, who's just scored an absolute stunner for Holland. Don't have a centre forward per se. Is that the obvious link, and would he go there?
That's a difficult one.
Don't ask easy questions, Kuva.
Does he see Man United as a team likely to bring trophies to his career?
That's the question, right?
I think the way they're going at the moment, possibly. If they somebody, if he has a chat with Ten Hag about what the plans are for the season, and he sees what Man United are trying to do, he might well fancy some of that. Him fitting the fit he would be for Man United, I think is absolutely incredible, because they're crying out for that talented, intelligent forward. Yeah, lots of goals in him that also links up well with the rest of the team, and he's got that connection with Eriksen already. It would be a no-brainer for Man United, even if they have to spend big. But
I mean, let me ask you this then.
Go on.
Just quickly, Man United. Let's just assume they sign Gakpo, right? Let's just assume they do, right? Man United could then have a midfield of Casemiro and Eriksen, with Bruno Fernandes in the hole, Anthony one side, Gakpo the other, Harry Kane. I mean, that would be a dream for Kane personally, right? In terms of, when I say a dream, I'm not talking about a dream move. I'm talking about a dream Eriksen creating for you, Bruno Fernandes creating for you, Anthony creating for you, as opposed to at Tottenham where he's doing most of the creation himself. So would that be attractive? Would he look at that and go, I think we can win things here? I know Luan's probably wetting himself in the chat as a Man United fan, but I mean, this is becoming more realistic now that Man United are signing top players.
Yeah, it's definitely, it would be on the table. The only thing that will go against that would be Levy, despite me slaughtering him all the rest of the time.
For
When
sure.
it comes to selling to rivals, he gets his money's worth out of them. So
Yeah.
we'd be talking a phenomenally expensive signing there.
But look, what did they just drop on Anthony?
Yeah, it was more than the 5 million that Levy would have offered. That's for sure.
Right, but it was about like 80 million, right? Somebody in the chat, Luan, if you're in the chat, someone tell us, what did Man U pay for Anthony? My guess is if Man United would drop 80 million, or someone's going to tell me 75, whatever it was, on Anthony, who's don't get me wrong, very talented footballer, but had no experience of the English league, would their owners now turn around and go, sorry, 100 million for Kane, we'll get 3 or 4 years out of him, he's 30, England captain?
Yeah, I think they would.
Right. This is my worry.
It really is that kind of they'll fancy nicking a trophy or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
really do. It would tie in with Kane's ambition, and they do have the clout to do this. They do seem to be getting things right as well. They're still shaky. They've still got a lot of signings to make, but he would be a massive one for them.
Yeah,
that's that cutting edge. Imagine if he'd been playing in that United team when they beat us 2-0. It would have been a much bigger scoreline than 2, wouldn't it?
Right, and that's the worry. When you look at how many chances other teams create, I mean, look, let's park the bus, because I think we're going to give Luan a heart attack just to the fault of him having Harry Kane at Man United. Let's look further afield. Can you? And I saw a good debate about this the other day, so I'm going to steal this. Can you see in any way, shape, or form? Right, I think I know the answer. That Chelsea would be a destination for Harry Kane, another club that desperately needs a centre forward, but the history of Spurs dealing with Chelsea is non-existent, even with new owners. I can't see it. Can you see it in any way?
No, I don't see it either.
No.
I'd imagine from Kane's point of view as well, he's probably thinking Chelsea are in a bit of turmoil at the moment. Mm-hmm. It's going to take him a few years to adapt to Potter, if he gets that long.
Oh, he won't get that long if it doesn't work, so to speak.
Yeah, I've still got a feeling with him. He's going to have this season as a sort of free reign to change the way the club's going. So
I agree.
Then we are talking the summer anyway, so it does change things. It would kind of depend on how they're gelling together. If they're showing signs of the old Chelsea where they get everything sorted out suddenly and the big names start hitting the deck, with the performances. It's one of those weird ones. I don't imagine it's in Harry Kane's sort of character to go there.
Yeah.
But you can never rule it out, can you?
Well, I mean, I'm just looking and thinking, look, Daniel Levy's a ruthless businessman. We know that, right? And Daniel Levy will always go against the fans in terms of he'll do whatever he wants to make money, right? I just think that a Chelsea sale may just be one too far in terms of losing your best player for the last, let's be fair, by the time we lose him, it would have been nearly a decade, right? Or a decade. Losing your best player for a decade.
It would kind of, I think it would have to be a deal the equivalent of, supposing we value Kane at, say, 70 million with a year left on this contract, which I don't think is an unreasonable figure to go at because of his stature. I think that would be at that price to want certain clubs, but to Chelsea, it would have to be more like 120 million. they would have to pay premium to get him.
But do you even think that premium on top? I mean, look, like lots of comments in look, like Tony saying would not do business with Chelsea. Foggy Foreman said things would get messy. Luan's even said no, not to Chelsea. Spurs will go mad.
Yes, it's really unlikely. It is really unlikely.
It
but
is.
Like I said, if the money offered comes to a point where it feels like, we're kind of fleecing them a bit.
150 million.
That's it. You could do a lot with that money, couldn't you?
150 million. He's going to go anyway, right? So, all right. So look, that's Chelsea and Man United. Look, I can't see Man City in any way, shape, or form needing to spend anywhere near what it would take because they've got a guy who's scoring more than Harry Kane anyway. So I don't think they're
and another one that can come in and score loads of goals as well.
Yeah. Absolutely, Alvarez. Yeah, absolutely. Liverpool is Liverpool a likely destination in any way, shape, or form? Is it a fit? Have they got too many forwards already?
Um, he would definitely do well at Liverpool, I think. But
Right.
are there priorities elsewhere? They've got that sort of aging midfield type feel to them at the moment.
Yeah.
I think they're in a really big rebuild. I don't see them blowing massive amount on Kane now. Not after they just went and threw all that money at Nunez and the Diaz is there as well. I think their priorities are elsewhere. I'd rule them out personally.
Yeah. And then obviously we can rule out Arsenal. The last one I want to talk about before we go abroad with this. And by the way, everyone in the chat, I'm not trying to sell Harry Kane off. I'm just gearing people up for the realistic expectation that all the while Harry Kane hasn't signed a new contract, this is going to become a reality. Clubs, I mean, this is just me and Kuva, two Tottenham fans. We're nobodies. No offense, Kuva. We're nobodies sitting around chatting Spurs. You can imagine that all up and down, all around Europe, top scouts and clubs are sitting down going, hang on, his contract's running down. Do we make the move now? Is there back channels into an agent? Do you know what I mean? So Newcastle, Kuva. Now, for me, the money's not an issue. We know that. But are they going to be far enough along in terms of their project, whatever that means,
No.
to see it as a big step?
No, I don't see it at the moment. Especially since they spent big on the centre forward at the last thing in the summer, didn't they?
Isak.
Yeah, I don't think they spent all that money on him just to sort of push him to one side. So
yeah,
wrong timing, I think.
Okay.
I think if he was going to go to somewhere like Newcastle, it would have been done that summer. It's a non-starter. I think Newcastle actually enjoying the fact that they are going for players, sort of early to mid-20s as well. It's getting quite a team that's going to go for a few seasons with those names and still in the side. I think Kane, well, he's going to be 30 now, near enough 30 already. I think it's just the wrong fit at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. Matthew Hayden said, Savva, when are you going to accept Arsenal better than Spurs? Oh, mate, I've accepted this a long time ago. I don't know. When people come in with comments like that, it's as though I'm sitting here going, oh my God, Arsenal are crap. I'm jealous of what Arsenal are doing. But that's a different story. I mean, abroad, can we see, look, Barcelona are, Barcelona don't have that type of money, and they've got Robert Lewandowski. Real Madrid, I mean, how long does Benzema go on?
Benzema's about, 34, something like that.
Yeah, Benzema's 34, I think.
That's certainly a possibility.
Right.
Because we know wherever Kane goes, he's going to have got quite a few years left in him, because his game's never been based on pace, has it? So it doesn't matter if he loses a bit of pace, he's still going to have those qualities. Real Madrid, certainly an option.
And let's be honest, Kuva, I don't even need to ask you. I'm not even getting your opinion on this. Does that turn his head? Of course it turns his head, right?
As a Spurs fan, turns my head.
Right. So that's the one that worries me. Now, I'm not saying that Benzema's going anywhere anytime soon, but you never know, do you? You just don't know. But Bayern Munich, is the German league a big enough pull? I mean, look, let's be fair. Kane signs for Bayern Munich, you're guaranteed trophies in one way or another. You're guaranteed a trophy.
And always in with a shot of the Champions League as well.
Right.
I think that's
a big enough pull?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich are big dogs. There's no doubt about it. They've proven European pedigree.
Yeah.
Fits in with big dogs, doesn't it?
Yeah. The pedigree chums. Yeah. They do. I mean, PSG?
No. I don't see it. PSG are a sort of I don't think he's going to play in the French league somehow. It's literally only PSG, really, isn't it? I mean, occasionally some other teams pop up with a couple of years where they've got a few good players. They eventually get sold. I just don't see League One as being that that much of a pull for him. I mean,
Yeah,
when compared to likes of Real Madrid or Bayern, not really an issue, not really a possibility. The only reason he'd go there, I'd say, is if he's been offered stupid money they can't afford to turn down, like $500,000 a week sort of thing.
yeah. It's I can't see him going there. I mean, anywhere else? Have I missed anything? I mean, I can't see him going to Italy. I don't see that there's an attractive proposition there for him. So, I mean, from what we've said there, we're looking at Man United, Juventus. Sorry, no, Man United, Real Madrid, and possibly Bayern Munich as the three.
Yeah, I can't really see anybody else coming in for him. That sort of thing. For me, the most likely course, and I've said this all along, is I think he will see out his career at Spurs, and then he'll move over to the MLS as a sort of swan song before going on to trying his luck at gridiron, the American football, because he's made it quite clear he'd fancies his chances of being a kicker for him.
Yeah,
he should be pretty good because he's great at skying free kicks way over the bar.
He can't take a free kick to save his life, can he?
No, it'd be good for American football, though, I think.
He really, really would. He really would. Let's move on from Kane. I mean, look, it's a tough one. We're going to hear this more and more, right? Until the man signs a contract. Look, if I was Kane, I'm going to ask you the same question. If I was Kane, I would not sign a contract. I'll be honest, I wouldn't. I feel like I would have given my all to this club. Over 350 Premier League, 350 club goals for Tottenham Hotspur, given us loads, not won anything. I'd be looking now to, can I cement a legacy somewhere? Can I give myself some trophies?
Yeah, it's back to that Mexican standoff bit, isn't it? Do we offer Conte the contract unless he does Conte not sign the contract unless Kane stays? Does Kane stay unless Conte's offered the contract? And I just think it always comes down to the same thing. If we're going to be a big club and show any sign of ambition, you just offer the manager you think can win you trophies a bloody contract, long term, and just say you're getting whatever the hell we can possibly get you that you want, and just go for it. If that happens and Spurs just get the contract on the table, Conte signs it, I think Kane will think, right, okay, there's a plan here. Well, we're going for it.
Right, I've got a very different view on this to most people. Sorry, one of my clients. To most people, right? And my view is this: everyone keeps saying, "Well, Kane will only sign if Conte signs." Even if Conte signs a contract, why does that automatically mean Kane will? Because if I'm Kane, I'm looking at it and thinking, well, I've worked under loads of top managers. Nothing's changed from the top. It's not just having Conte sign a contract. Does it change that much in the short term? And by the way, we're talking about a player here who's not a kid anymore. You know, we're not talking about a player that's got years and years and years to go out there and wait for a project to happen. So is that enough pull just because Conte does, Kane does?
Well, it's all interlinked, isn't it? January transfer window is huge. That'll give us a good indication of what our ambition is for the rest of the season. That in turn will, for me, that's going to sort of make Conte's mind up about any sort of contract. And let's face it, Conte can't sign a contract unless it's offered. So I mean, it's out of his hands, really, isn't it? So
do we know it hasn't been?
It seems unlikely. There's usually a little few whispers around saying he's not happy with something if it doesn't happen, isn't it? I mean, somebody types up these contracts and lawyers go through them and things. So there's always people in the chain that will have a little whisper saying, I think something's in the pipeline. I just have this gut feeling that it is all about January. It's the knock-on effect from all of it. Yeah. If we see some really decent sort of signings saying, let's finish this season strongly, let's really go for it, cement our place in the top four, looking at a third place finish, I think that'll be the that at least that'll be a progress from last season, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. I mean, look, this comment here, I believe this is Marlon. let me know if it isn't. Apologies, but I think this is Marlon. Has said Conte will be gone and Kane will follow no matter if Conte does stay. We'll never forgive Levy for City. Now, there's a lot to be said for this, right? I mean, Kane was publicly, I don't want to say pissed off. He was publicly unhappy at not getting his move to Manchester City. Not from a point of view that he did anything completely unprofessional, but, you know, the tools, I wouldn't say he downed tools completely, but it was certainly a half-hearted Harry Kane for a while.
I think he was disheartened, perhaps disillusioned, but if he really wanted that move, he would have put in a transfer request.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, but do you think that there could be a bit of him deep down that when a contract's put in front of him, he goes, "No, you didn't give me this move"?
I don't think it's about the bids coming in from other clubs. I think he gets frustrated about lack of what's happening with our club. Right. He wants to see, you know, some bloody big name players coming in to play alongside. I think he'll be thrilled to bits with the progress on Bentancur and Kulusevski.
Yep.
We know he gets on famously with Sonny. Not so much this season, perhaps. Sonny lacking the goals so far, but I'm sure that'll get fixed as well. I think it's a case of the rest of the team having to prove to him that he's the finishing touch on a good side.
Well, I mean, quickly, just before we move on from Kane, there's always two sides to everything, right? I think that's true of anything in life. There's two sides to everything, right? And Claude Murphy does bring up a good point. So, hello, good afternoon to you, Claude. Let's discuss this point, right? Now, I do get this point completely, is that Kane has been in finals. He has played with top managers. And in those big games, the question could be asked, and this isn't just Kane, but we're holding players to the level that we talk about them at, if that makes sense. In the big games, I'm not expecting certain players to turn up because that's not them. But in the big games, just to emphasise how big they are, Kuva, Kane and to a lesser degree Son, they never turn up. The finals we've had, the semis, the finals, they've not turned up, have they? So how much of this is when we say, well, Spurs haven't given him what he deserves, how much of that is correct versus, well, hang on, when we have got him there, he's not delivered?
Oh, really long conversation, this one, with a lot of things to it. For me, we've had so many seasons of relying on Kane and Sonny. And I always think, you play against a big side, what are they going to do? Just stick men on Kane and Sonny. Just pick away at Spurs with the rest of the team. So the fact that they go missing in a lot of games is because they're not given any space. That other teams aren't stupid enough to say, "Here you go, let's let you create something with it." It's a difficult one because we've seen it at times. Kane's managed to shrug off players and create a bit of space for himself and do something. But when you're talking about the Chelseas and Liverpools and Man Cities, it's a lot harder to do that. They're used to dealing with a superstar player come up against them and find a way to shut them out. See it all the time in Champions League level. Some of the best strikers in the world struggle to score goals at times. So I think that's got to be part of it for me. I mean, literally, you would be saying that the other teams are just being stupid by letting them have free license otherwise.
No, of course. And again, there's two sides to every argument, right?
Yeah.
You can have the argument that, oh, well, they've not turned up in big games, or the argument that because they're the only big players, they've been targeted and no one else has stepped up. But look, let's move on.
Well, I'd say the other part to that would be, you compare to someone like Messi or something, does turn up in the big game, but that's because he's got well, you could say he hasn't in some of them, but generally speaking,
no.
He's got a level above Kane. He's genius level. I wouldn't say Kane's genius. Yeah. Kane's a great player. Messi's a genius.
Yeah, we're talking
Ronaldo, not CR7. I mean, as a striker, he's genius level, certainly.
I think that's the thing with those players, with the Ronaldos, with the Messis. If you go look, no top player wins every top game they're ever in, right? You know, Ronaldo's lost finals, Messi's lost finals. That's life, right? They're not going to win everything. But if you go through their careers and look at the number of big games where they did, you know, where they have performed, it's more often than not. And I think a lot of now when we talk about Ronaldo and Messi, is we're talking about them now as 35 and 37, as opposed to they shouldn't be ripping it up at 35 and 37. Do you know what I mean? You'd like to think there was this mantle being passed, but it's like, just quickly on the Messi piece, like my mate messaged me the other day and he said, "Oh, you thought Messi would be the top goal scorer at the World Cup. He looks crap, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, well, hang on. I said, you've got to understand, Messi's game has evolved. He's not this 19-year-old kid now that gets the ball and dribbles through everyone. And if you don't watch him play, you wouldn't know that now. But his game is he drops deep, he gets the ball, he starts attacks, he joins in. He's not going to beat 15 men. Do you know what I mean? So, look, let's move on from Harry Kane. I want to talk about
downgrading himself to an Ericsson, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah, he's downgraded. Yeah. Look, let's move on. I want to talk about this and a player that Spurs are being linked with a lot. We've been linked with him a lot the last two windows, and a player that I cannot wait to leave. So we're going to talk about this now. When I say a swap, it doesn't feel like this is a straight swap. I'm not saying it'll be one for the other and no money being exchanged, but lots of rumours that Juventus and Inter Milan have made Emerson Royal, I can't say this without laughing, their first choice for right back or right wing back. Right, now let me compose, because I just can't believe that this is true. My cheeks are up, like my cheeks hurt. Right, let's just assume this is true, Kuva. Why on earth would anyone ever want to swap Dumfries for Emerson Royal?
They're even similar sorts of players. I just don't get it. They're strong sort of players. I wouldn't say Dumfries is a great footballer.
No,
but he's at least semi-competent defender, and he pops up with a couple of goals at the far post. Basically, that's his game. I don't see the point in it. It's like for like. Well, he's better than Emerson Royal. But the point is, what the hell would they be playing at if they want to do that?
Yeah,
and that's just to bring wages down or something.
Yeah, look at Sean Butler turning up and having his having the volume loud so I can hear an echo of myself and everything. Shocking behaviour. Shocking behaviour. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can see you. We can hear you. We can feel you. It's all there. All the components.
Nice.
Sean, you've joined us just as we're talking about all the reports talking about Emerson Royal being the first choice for both Juventus and Inter Milan, which just cracks me up in so many ways, with the possibility of Dumfries coming the other way. First of all, what do you make of Dumfries? Because are people putting the links together just because he's at Inter Milan, or are we? Is there genuine like from Antonio Conte to Dumfries? Does he fit our system?
Mate, I get worried about saying how I feel about certain players if I say anything negative, because judging by the comments on my videos today, based on what I said about Richarlison about a week ago, because he scored a couple of goals today. Apparently, I feel like I must have offended someone's mother the way that people. It's pretty rude.
It was his mum.
But when it comes to Dumfries, again, this is probably these things get clipped, and then you find out later on if he does come in, he'll probably put in a worldie, which is always great. I'd love to be proven wrong when being proven wrong is a benefit to Tottenham. But I don't think Denzel Dumfries is any good. I don't, and I've got a bunch of Inter Milan devotees, people that are a little bit Tottenham, but all about Inter, and they tell me that they think that Emerson Royal is better than Denzel Dumfries. And I'm like, really? You think of him that low? And they go, yeah, he's absolutely woeful. He's stealing a living. So I don't know.
Stealing
I don't.
anything more than Royal.
Yeah, apparently this is what these guys
Wow.
think. I don't know. I trust their opinion because I know that they understand and they follow and watch Inter far closer than I do. And then I've got this tool called Y Scout, which is really cool. You can just like look at a specific player and then just look at every single interaction they do in various different settings. And he doesn't look that good. He looks very clumsy on the ball. He looks like he's the benefactor of a lot of other creative play that happens down Inter's left and through the middle, and he's just usually on the kind of end of it. But is he? I mean, anyone's better than Royale, but these guys think that Dumfries isn't. So I don't know. I've got no idea.
Is this what it is then, guys? I mean, Kuva, is this what it is? Is it the fact that so many Spurs fans dislike Emerson Royal as a footballer? Let's put it out there, not him as a human. Dislike Emerson Royal as a footballer so much that we've kind of looked past, actually, is the player that many want actually any better? They just want different to Royal.
Sorry, I'm still processing with you saying Emerson Royal as a footballer.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah. No, this one of the ones I don't get with. Yeah, I understand people wanting Royale out because I do. I think he's absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
But Dumfries, I'm not impressed with at all. So
Yeah.
basically, what Sean was saying, that every time I've seen him, the word talented is not a word I would use with him. Strong, quite aggressive.
Physically good. Like he's got all the he's fast, he's quick, he's strong, he's
should be playing rugby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's an athlete, but not necessarily a tactile footballer.
Yeah. And I look at him and I'm looking at the players I'd love to see at right wing back, like Montiel at Sevilla. What a player that is.
Yeah.
Bags of skill, bags of energy, goals in him, assists in him.
I wouldn't mind saying that you spoke about him last season, Kuv, Joaquin Mele for in Denmark. Even though he plays on the left for Denmark, he can play on both sides. And because Conte likes to invert the wing backs occasionally, I think that Mele
Hateboer as well. They're both he's at Atalanta. Same sort of thing. He's got a terrific engine, really attacking player.
Do you know what? Sorry, Kuva, I know you're not watching the World Cup, but I watched the game today, Iran versus Wales, and even the Iranian right wing back, right?
Yeah, it's
basically playing as a right wing back, powerful, physical, love to tackle, bomb forward, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'd rather this bloke than the ones we've got. But like you said, you've got players like Montiel. I think Di Lorenzo at Napoli, I think is a fantastic player. So if I'll take this back to the beginning then, boys, if we sign Dumfries, is this a worry? Is this a worry for Spurs, or are we all just going to jump on the bandwagon of, well, if Conte wants him, I want him? You know, that the age-old thing we had all of last summer.
Yeah. Everyone will be behind it. And then as soon as he makes a cock up, as soon as he screws up in the third game of the season, it's typical Levy signing that, just because Inter didn't want
Levy.
Similar like the usual kind of reactionary nonsense that comes out. Yeah, listen, there's better players out there than Dumfries. However, given how difficult it is to do business in one window, in the January window anyway, I made this argument on one of my walks the other day. You could almost get most of your business done with Inter Milan, because there's also noise that they're interested in Davinson Sanchez. They think that Sanchez is a better fit for the Serie A than he is the Premier League, and maybe he is. And then we need a couple of their centre-backs, right? And then maybe they're in financial trouble. If Paratici could just go and have a long weekend with the Inter president, go and do whatever these wealthy people do, sit down and then just play like swapsies and just bung them some money and then get rid of Emerson Royal and Davinson Sanchez and take one or two of their defenders, maybe their right wing back, and even if you could dare go and get someone like a Brozovic as well, and then throw them 50 million, you could be done. Like you could get the entire window sorted with one club. It'd be fantastic.
So what we're saying is all of our targets could be from Inter Milan. All of Inter Milan's can be from ours.
Yeah,
and
everyone's
one day. Everyone's on one day.
With the added bonus of Iggy will love that, being an AC Milan fan.
Yeah,
he would love to see them get Emerson Royal and Davinson Sanchez, and
I just can't imagine if there are any Inter Milan fans out there that want Sanchez and Royale in any way, shape, or form.
I think Sean touched on it there. Is that I see it as well. I think they could do all right in Italy. It's the Premiership they've got to struggle with.
I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I think it's the being a footballer part they struggle with, Kuva. I mean,
yeah, fair.
When I look at Emerson Royal, does moving to Italy mean he'll be able to cross a football? Does it mean he'll be able to pass a ball? Look, I can only pray that Inter Milan will be my second team. I'm saying this now. You're hearing it right now on camera. They will be my second team in the whole wide world. I will buy Inter Milan merchandise if they buy Royal and Sanchez. Yeah. And not because I want to watch Royal and Sanchez play, but thank you so much for them helping us out. I'll be over the moon. Guys, let's move away from the right wing-back situation. This player keeps coming up time and time again, the next bloke that I'm going to talk about. Again, it's another one. It's the Italian link. It's the Juventus link. It's a position where we are relatively strong. But again, we keep coming back to this guy. When I say we, I mean all the reports, the links. What do we make of this, guys? Because I've been really open. I said this to you the other day, Sean. I've been really open to the fact that I don't have any issue with Weston McKennie as a player. But I do have an issue with, is he that different to what we've got?
Yeah.
And is he, again, it's another one of, and it'll be another signing like Malinovsky, if we would sign him, that doesn't actually address any of the issues at this football club.
Yeah. I'll go first, Kuva. I'll be quick. I don't look at Weston McKennie and get excited. I think that there is an argument to be made that if you are going to stick with the 3-4-3 as your primary formation and then occasionally pivot to a 5 in the midfield, a 3 in the midfield, there is an argument to be made that having 4 midfielders that are all somewhat 6, somewhat 8, and being asked to do a little bit in the 10 role occasionally, if one of them drops form or if 2 of them get injured, anything like that happens, then you're not really left with any plan B or options. If you only have 4, there's an argument to have a 5th. We've got Pape Sarr, but he's never ever going to get any minutes. So
he got about 15 today for Senegal.
Yeah. Well, okay. You don't want to get any minutes under Conte. And for me, there's an argument to say, yes, you could have a 5th midfielder. And if you're going to stick with the 3-4-3, then you don't really need I know that everyone wants James Maddison, but he doesn't fit into a 3-4-3. He fits into a 3-5-2, unless James Maddison wants to learn how to play the right wing forward and be in competition with Kulusevski.
Yeah.
What I would say, though, is if you do go to and have a 5th midfielder that is of good value, good enough competition, like a Brozovic, like a McKennie, like a insert, decent level Champions League level footballer there, then you do run the risk of having unhappy players if all 5 of them are fit at the same time and right. Tottenham are not in the cups and not and Conte plays favourites. So it's a risk. It's like a double-edged sword. You want 5 players so that you can have comfort in knowing that you're always going to have 2 great options there. But when all 5 of them are fit and there's no injury problems or there's no, and you've got Conte who doesn't really like to rotate that much, then you've got an issue down the road of people that are unhappy and people that want out. So, look, I'm okay with getting another, to summarise, I'm okay with getting another player like a Weston McKennie, but I just don't want Weston McKennie.
No, I hear you. I mean, Kuva, again, look, I sound like a broken record for me. Again, the big thing, if it's another central midfielder we bring in, plus a Malinovsky who, let's be really, really honest, as Sean was saying there, in the 3-4-3 formation, Malinovsky is going to be battling it outright with, let's be honest, with Son and Kulusevski for those positions. I'll chuck him into this as well, Malinovsky and McKennie. Is that, again, just going to be signings for signing's sake, Kuva, when it doesn't actually address where we are weak as a football team?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see any sense in this at all. I was just checking his contract to see if it was expiring in the summer or something, and that would make sense then because we'd be going for a cheap player. But it's not for another 3 years before his contract's up. So
And how much are they talking about for him? Do you know? I mean,
25 million.
25 million, 3 years left. How good can you be? I know that sounds that's a sweeping generalisation, but
well, he's not an all. I don't see him as an all-round sort of player anyway. I think he's more sort of defensively minded,
Playmaker,
ball winning player. Really.
yeah.
I just don't see the point. We got those already.
Does he differ enough, Kuva, from? I mean, when you look at Bentancur, Højbjerg, and Basuma, I know we've got Skip and Saar below that, but if we look at those three as the main three, all work hard, all like the tackle, all can kind of operate in that middle third of the pitch. None of them have really got that kind of killer ball. I see that as from what I've seen of McKennie. I don't see that he's any different to them at all. So it just baffles me a little bit.
That's why I think we'll probably sign him.
But surely the conversation isn't about like the links are strong with Malinovsky. Like, I understand the Malinovsky one. He's desperate to come. He knows he's going to come in and play like second fiddle to Kulusevski if he's playing on the right, or second fiddle to Sonny. But he's better than Lucas Moura and he's better than Brian Hill.
Sure,
right? So
absolutely.
if you can send Brian Hill out on loan, and you know that Lucas Moura's contract runs out in the summer, and I don't think he's going to renew. I don't think Tottenham will extend. So you need someone to come in, and Malinovsky is definitely someone who's definitely a player that if he came onto the pitch on the 60-minute mark, or if one of those guys was injured, I'd be more than comfortable with it, which I can't say that I am when you've got Lucas or Brian Hill. So the Malinovsky deal makes sense. He won't be a troublemaker. And I think he'll add value to the squad, not a starter.
Sean, but it makes sense for me. Listen, as a fan, again, anything I say is only from my perspective as a fan, right? Yeah. I'm all for Spurs signing Malinovsky. I think he's a good player. I'm not going to go overboard. From what I've seen of him, he's good. There's no consistency with him, but he's good.
Yeah.
But for me, it's if we were to bring in, again, I'll use these two as an example. If we get to the January window and the two signings are Malinovsky and McKennie.
Oh, there's a failed. Then it's a stupid window. Yeah, 100%.
Right.
But those two are in addition. Like for those two to be like for me to be okay with even one of them. Yeah. It's not instead of centre backs.
Right.
The centre backs are one. If we don't get a centre, but I think you'd hope that Paratici and Conte are on the same page with that situation. You'd hope. And if they're not, there's a problem, right?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Kuva, tell us, are they on the same page? Because do you know what? You can watch any YouTube channel or any podcast or listen to any debate from football fans of any football club, and they've all got a different idea on what needs to be done. I think Spurs is the one fan base. I don't think I've found any Spurs fan that will tell you we don't need centre-backs, right? I don't. If there is anyone, please put it in the chat. But surely if we know it, they must know it, right, Kuva? They must.
You'd think so. I'm pretty sure Conte knows it. He chops and changes it quite often, trying to get a tune out of them. What I'm always baffled with is what goes on between Levy and Paratici before it gets to Conte, because some of the signings we make are absolutely baffling. Back to an old favourite again, Emerson Royale. As soon as we put in the bid for him, I thought, what the hell? Why? It made no sense. We're just so I don't believe we will sign players that are needed. I think we will go entirely on getting value for money. I think that's going to be the bulk of all transfer windows.
Is the sentence going to be? Is it going to be again? Oh well, we've signed them, but in the summer you know what I mean? Is it going to be?
Yeah. Always the same,
summer,
isn't
we're
it?
going to get our targets. Yeah.
We already said we need 2 to 3 big windows. Right. Summer was supposed to be the first of them.
Yeah. Right. So,
I mean, okay. If we accept that Levy is going to run the tight ship, and that won't be hands being delved into pockets to spend big from the owners, even if and the club's generating its own funds for transfers, even if we accept that. We still do so badly with it, don't we? We instead of like 2, 3 top quality players, we go for 7, pretty average, almost nobody's in some cases. It's like hopeful targets rather than there's a plan, isn't there? As you said, you go around anybody in the Spurs community and see Do we need a centre back? I think almost everybody's going to say yes. Surely. For me, wing backs and centre backs. And we're going to look at replacing Hugo at some point.
Well, this brings me to, Clement said, Savva, we really need centre backs. John Ellishaw said, Savva, I said, we need a whole new back line and a keeper. And I think this is the worrying thing for me now, guys. And we're going to talk for the next 10, 15 minutes about transfers. And then we're going to have the chat, which we all love, which is going to be the debate on do Spurs need to sell, which is good fun. But isn't this the worry now that last year it was just that we needed a centre-back and a right wing-back? We got none of. Now this year we're coming into the realms of, hang on, we need two centre-backs, a right wing-back and a keeper. And it's how many windows can you go by without plugging the gap? And I don't mean, by addressing the issue rather than plugging the gap like we have with a long lay. Yeah, do you know what I mean? How it can't go on, can it, Sean? It can't go on that we keep not addressing.
Yeah, look, I think I was first of all I was on board with the Longley signing because I looked into him and I thought he was going to be a little bit different to Ben Davies with his abilities on the ball, and I think he's proven that he is capable, but he's not the long-term solution for sure. And I kind of like the idea of would hate the idea of Tottenham if Tottenham identified Bastoni as being their target and that they were given who knows what information or noise they were told around the availability, not then but maybe in the future. Then I'm fine with Tottenham making the decision to get a short-term player in place rather than like if you want the bride but you can't get it, rather than marrying the bridesmaid and getting your second choice or 10th choice or whatever else just because they were the only ones that were available at the time. I was okay with that whole decision, but of course like there's this kind of ticking time bomb of the fact that our best players in the squad are getting on, or some of our best players in the squad are getting on, and if the rebuild is only complete just before Sonny and Kane retire or move on or whatever, then you've got to start again with the whole rebuild in other positions. So it is a problem, but I do think that there's enough talent available in the positions that we need right now, this summer, this winter. There's enough, I think, going on in the market for Tottenham to be able to go and maybe push some envelopes and get some business done in January to get the job done. Whether it's a Skriniar, De Vrij, and Ndicka, we've gone through all the names a million times, but there's enough good quality players that are out of contract in the summer that I think if you put the right money down, you could get them now. And so I hope that by February the 1st, we will have plugged that particular. I don't know about the right back. I think the right wing back ones is more difficult, but I think the centre back one we can improve on for sure.
It's funny that you said Ndicka because that was the next banner that I had up. Kuva, this again, we said it. We said it during the summer. Ndicka, and for many that hadn't seen him play, just felt like the perfect option for Tottenham in every way, shape, or form. Left-sided centre half. I think he's got 6 months left on his contract, 6-7 months left. He's 22, 23 years of age, big, strong, powerful. It kind of felt like that's a no-brainer. Now we're hearing the reports. I'm not sure if you've heard that Juventus want him and they're going to try and get him out for 15 million in the January transfer window. If you were Spurs, isn't this the sort of thing where you'd go all out, go, here's 20 million, bang, 20 million before his contract runs out and you're in a bidding war? Surely this is the type of player we need.
Absolutely. Ticks all the right boxes. And you could be looking at your centre-back for the next 10 years.
Right.
Why wouldn't you?
Alongside Romero on the other side. You've got a 23-year-old in Romero, a 22-year-old in Ndicka. That's how old he is. I think he's 22.
And if you get a De Vrij in the middle with a bit of experience.
100%, yeah. 100%.
Well away, yeah.
Or that Kim Min Jae, did you see him? I don't know if you weren't watching it, but he does look. He's such a shame that we missed out on him. We could have had him apparently 6 years ago when he was playing in China. Then we could have had him in Turkey, and now we're trying. And then we're trying to get him when he's playing. We're paying top price for him at 50 million or whatever. But
there was always a couple of people singing his praises on Irish Hotspur's channel, wasn't there? I mean, Dark Sun G, I think must have been one of them.
Yeah, 100%.
And we were going
for such a big guy.
Yeah, no
such a big guy.
experience.
He's so fast as well, though, isn't he, Kuva? So fast.
I mean, the worry is, guys, is that there is players like in Undercar out there. Somebody else has mentioned, that you got Hincapi, who's out there and available as well. I say available, I'm sure he'd move. There are centre backs available. We lost out on. I say we lost out on. I don't know if we went in for him. Botman went to Newcastle. What a wonderful signing that's been. Surely we can't let the same happen again with Undercar, Hincapi. Yeah. At some point, we've got to invest in some. I don't want to say young centre backs because although these guys are young, they're experienced. They're experienced centre backs that have played in Europe. They play in the top leagues. I'm just worried we're going to miss again, guys. I'm really worried that we're not going to do anything.
Even if you're prepared to upset a few people, you could even get the experience in to go with the youngsters from the likes of Savic at Atletico Madrid. Right. They'll upset Man City a hell of a lot after what happened last season.
What about that Milenkovic? That Milenkovic who plays for Serbia last night. He was absolutely from Fiorentina. He's class. Big beast. He's like the Manja Vidic. He can't be that expensive.
Plenty out there, isn't there?
So many out there. And there's the young guy at Benfica as well. I forget his name. Who's like 20 years old. He plays in the middle. He's I'll
remember it in a minute.
There's so many players out there, aren't there? Yeah. There's so many out there, and someone's brought up Pau Torres here, and I actually had a little Pau Torres banner ready, but we don't need to see the banner to know we're talking about Pau Torres. Look, this is a guy, again, this has been talked about for a couple of years now. He's been integral to what's been a very rigid, tight, stubborn Villarreal defence for many years. They're not the most attractive to watch, but what's his name? Henry's favourite, Unai Emery, had them defending well. Lots of fans seem to be pro Pau Torres, and a lot of fans then seem to be very, anti Pau Torres. Where do you guys sit with him?
He's easy for me. I think he's a quality player. He won't pop up too much on the defensive stats because the way he plays, he is just literally there to sit back, pick up the loose ball and distribute it with high quality. Good passer, good bringing the ball forward himself when he needs to. All round, really, really good, intelligent footballer, reads the game well. So he's not your out and out stopper. He's not a traditional English centre half by any means. He's much more in a back three. He would be perfect. Drop Dyer out, Pau Torres in at the back, and he's just overwatching the other two doing the defensive work. He's just picking up the loose ball, playing as the old style sweeper almost. Get your foot on the ball, pass it out well. We are lacking that at the moment. We're relying on the hurried clearances or some really shoddy interchanging passing between players not up to the job at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean, Sean, where are you? I seem to remember
he turned us down. He turned us down, didn't he? He said last season before last, he said he didn't want to come to Tottenham because we weren't a Champions League team. And then last summer just gone, he said he'd rather go to, allegedly said he'd rather go to Manchester United, even though we were a Champions League team and they were a Europa League team. And so I feel like, much like, I didn't realise this had happened, but I'd forgotten or I didn't know, I'm not entirely sure, but I did a video this morning about the French guy whose mum's the agent and whose name now slips my mind, Rabiot. I didn't realize that Rabiot turned us down, basically saying that he's better than us. And if that's the case, then screw him. And also, if it's true that Pau Torres, whilst he might be a really good football player and a really good defender, if he turned us down because we weren't in Champions League, and then the next summer when he had the chance to join, he turned us down and would rather have gone to Manchester United, who were in the Europa League, that to me tells me he thinks he's better than Tottenham and doesn't respect the club. So.
Don't you think with some of this though? I mean, look, as much as we can go at players that turn us down, etc., don't you think it all depends where we are at that time? So, for example, if anyone was going to turn us down when we had, I can't remember his name. That's how good a manager he was. When we had Nuno Santos in charge, turning us down then compared to turning us down with Antonio Conte isn't that a human decision that we would probably make as well?
Yeah, it's reasonable.
Sitting on the fence.
But he turned us down this summer when we had Conte. He said he'd rather go to Man United. So
fair enough.
And as for disrespecting the club, I mean, I'm a Spurs fan and I disrespect this club.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I'd sign for someone else, and I'm 40. So if anyone wants to sign me, I'd go somewhere other than Spurs, just because I don't want to play defensive football. But I mean, guys, look, it's creeping up, right? We're what, the 25th of November. The transfer window opens. I'm going to use quick maths. 36, 37 days.
Yeah,
that'll probably tell you I don't know how many days are in each month. Still, I never know that little rhyme. But look, 36, 37 days. I'm just hoping, guys, that this is one of those times where we actually do have a plan, i.e., we don't wait until the last day of the window. Like, I'm not saying it didn't work out last year with Kulusevski and Bentancur, but I want to see. Let's go and get those targets in the first week. Let's get those targets in for as many games as possible, right? Do you see that happening? I mean, Sean, you sit. I don't want to say sit on the fence. You've always got a good rationale behind the way Levy and that have worked and transfer policies, etc. Do you see that we are going to strike early? Are we going to do what we did in the summer, or are we going to go back to Spurs' formula of waiting till the end of the window for a deal?
No, I think. Well, I mean, look. First and foremost, I'm a little bit concerned as to why they didn't drop the Tottenham financials. The last 3 years, they've dropped them on November the 23rd. I was really looking forward to reading through it, and they haven't. So I don't know what's the rationale. Whether that's just innocent, or whether there's something more to it. But I would expect Paratici and all of the directors of football right now to have 6 weeks' time to go around and start having conversations, start making plans. So I would expect there to be more business done earlier in the window. January usually is a wait till the last. It's like I always call it the Mexican standoff. Everyone is like pointing guns at everybody else, waiting. Go, you make the first move. No, you make the first move. And usually it's one of those. It's a big transfer that starts the domino effect, and then everyone else can start things moving, but no one wants to move first. I feel like this window, because the World Cup is on, I feel like it's going to be completely different, and I think it's going to be a little bit unique. And I do expect Tottenham and a lot of other clubs as well to have already made these. Like some of these deals will be getting done right now, and then they'll be announced on maybe in the first week of January. But I could be wrong. Who knows? I usually am.
Yeah, aren't we all? Listen, aren't we all? The worst thing about being wrong when you're a YouTuber, Sean, is that people love to tell you immediately as soon as you're wrong, right? And that goes with the territory. Kuva, we don't normally do what Sean's just suggested. We don't normally do in a January window. Can you see it? And wouldn't it be a breath of fresh air? I.e., if we'd had Kulu and Bentancur at the beginning of January, think how many more games they would have played, because I don't know, but I'm guessing there was 7-8 games in January maybe last year, getting knocked out to Chelsea in the League Cup semi, if I'm right. Is it the semi or the quarter or whatever that was?
Semi, wasn't it?
Yeah, the semis, yeah.
Can you see it? Would it be a breath of fresh air?
Yeah, of course it would. I mean, I think most of us are sort of expecting the January window to be the same as usual. Nothing happens, and then on the 29th, cap in hand to Juventus going, can we have a couple of players, please?
It's bloody annoying though, Kuva, when you know that you can get the business done early, because how many games? Like, there's so many games in January this year trying to catch up. Because they spread the games that were, they moved half of the games that would have been played in December into November, and then moved the other games into January. I think there's a lot of games and we also missed one, didn't we? Arsenal missed two, I think, because of the Queen dying.
At the very least, you'd think people and agents are sitting back watching the World Cup and getting an eye on some players.
Yeah.
So you're ready to go first thing January.
1, 2, 3, 4. 6 games guaranteed in January. 6 at the moment.
Yeah, see, that's a lot of games to miss. If you can get a deal done on January the 1st, then sign it on January the 1st, because we need those defenders to come in and hit the ground running. At least be ready and fit to play by the middle of January, because the games come thick and fast in the new year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, a lot like you said there, tongue in cheek, over the whole. Can we have a couple of players? I kind of feel like every time I hear that Spurs are linked with a player, that's what I think of. I don't think of you doing that, but that's what I kind of feel like. It's like Paratici going, please, somebody in Italy that I've got a connection with, please help me, rather than, oh, we've got to scout at him from, I don't know, Union Berlin, or do you know what I mean? Like, rather that we've gone around the world and actually looked, it feels very much like there's Inter players and Juve players, and no one else seems to be on our radar.
Yeah, I always feel that there's like some sort of formula we use for getting the players, and the price is always one of those options on the
right.
that dictates the rest of it. So yeah, I think it's going to be a case of bargain hunting again. It's always going to be bargain hunting with us. I feel like Sean saying the finances are usually out by now, and they're not this time. Do we get a bit suspicious of that? Perhaps it's being used is it being used as a ploy to like not give the game away how much money we got floating around, or is it because things are a lot worse than we were imagining? Or
well, let me ask you then, and guys, you'll know more than this than me. If we're saying, is that a deliberate ploy? What would be the reasons for them not releasing it? This isn't my area of expertise, so I'll take your guidance on this. What would be the reasons for not releasing it?
Well, just I mean, they don't have to, even though they're still minority shareholders, they do have to release them, but they don't have to release them on a certain specific date. But if they've done it for the last, as far as I'm aware, they definitely released it on the 23rd last year and the year before, and I'm pretty sure they did it on the same day the year before that. Mm-hmm. Unless it fell on like a weekend, in which case they would have released it on the Friday or the Monday. But the rationale for not releasing it is either they haven't finished preparing them, and they haven't been audited, or they just think that now's not the right time, and they'd rather release them at a time that's more convenient. They do have to release them,
right?
But when because it's no longer a listed company on the AIM market, they don't have to release them on a specific day. So. Who knows? Like, to your point, maybe they're trying to not give anything away to the market. Maybe they don't want the fans to know what to kind of create expectations that are unreasonable. Maybe there's information in it regarding a change in financing because of that the appeal that happened for those three property blocks that came through a couple of days ago or yesterday. Maybe on the basis that that's been approved, maybe they're now figuring out how much money can they, are they going to reorganize the loan or whatever to pay for those? Who knows? It could be one of a number of reasons, but to me, it's a little bit odd. Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking for. Hopefully, they'll come out before the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, just quickly. Sorry, something I try not to ask for too much, but if we could smash the like button, please. Obviously, we want everyone to enjoy the chat, but smashing the like button really does help. So, if you want to do that, then please do, guys. I want to move on to. I say my last subject, but I mean,
just going to ask Sean something quickly about that. It's
far away.
It's kind of weird. We've got like 4 start of years at the club, really, haven't we? We've got the calendar start of year, season start of the year. Then there's the financial start of the year. And the tax start, yeah. So, is it because with just a natural delay has happened, maybe with the internal financial part of it?
I honestly don't know. Like, I'd be speculating, and I love to speculate, but on this particular one, I who knows? It could be innocent, or it could be very suspicious.
Perhaps they're massaging the figures for a imminent sale.
Yeah. Well, listen. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's another. Maybe they are waiting to see if something happens with Man United and Liverpool, and then we'll see kind of whether or not it's time for Levy. In it, imagine if Dubai did come in and pay $10 billion for Manchester United, which is what's been suggested. If that happens, Daniel Levy and ENIC will 1,000,000%, in my opinion, would have a long conversation and go, we were in this for the money. If Manchester United is valued at that price with the shithole of the stadium that they're in, I know they've got the biggest brand in the world, and I know they've got a valuable, but Tottenham's ecosystem is pretty ripe and ready for someone else to come in. So if the valuation of Liverpool and Man United is extraordinarily high, what else does ENIC and Daniel Levy want? other than to have a big payout, right?
Well, absolutely, and that leads us on to, do Spurs need to sell? Now, look, this is a lot of it. This could be is putting 2 and 2 together and getting 10, but we're going to
100%,
have this discussion anyway. Look, in the last few years, we've seen Arsenal's owners invest massively. If we're talking about owners that have been there a while, Chelsea have changed hands. Todd Bowley's got the club. They spent huge money in the last in summer. They'll spend again. They'll keep spending because he's already said he wants success on the pitch. You've got Man United and Liverpool that are now officially up for sale. I don't know if official is the right word, but both their owners have come out and said, "Hey, we'll listen to offers." I'm sure it wasn't that South London like I made it, but in business terms, they're up for sale. You've got Man City, who are Man City. Newcastle have just changed hands in the last 18 months with their billionaire owners. I guess the question is, Kuva, do Spurs need to sell almost so that we can, to put it in layman's terms, so that we can keep up with the Joneses? Are we in a position where doing it the right way, growing organically, what we've done is great, lovely, but all the other clubs now are starting to sell to investors that want to actually pump money in to the football side. Is it time?
Yep, get new owners that are prepared to pump the money in, or we're going to get pumped by all the other teams above us. That's simple as that. The question is, well, forget ethics anyway. If you're really talking about ethical and saying, dismissing some of the other clubs with their ownerships, any billionaire out there is not going to have made their money with being, Mr. Nice Guy, are they? They're going to be pretty ruthless. And you only have to look into the likes of Joe Lewis, how they made their money. We are not some squeaky clean club by any stretch of the imagination. So with the new owners, having said that, I used to be of the opinion, I don't care who comes in. I don't care if they abuse civil rights and everything, and give some of the worst atrocities in the world today. As long as they're
like the
putting the money
Qataris
in.
to come in though.
I used to say that, but I really thought about it with this World Cup coming up.
Yeah,
I suddenly thought, you know what? I do have some ethics I believe in, and I don't want to have that kind of owner at the end of the day. It will never sit comfortably. Even if we're winning things, it's going to be at the back of my mind that I shouldn't be supporting this.
Is that just from a kind of Saudi perspective? Or like, for example, if you had Man City's owners, would you have any issue in terms of having their owners?
Yeah, it's all part of the same thing. I think for me, it's more of a personal issue with I'm just becoming really disillusioned with the whole money in football and Premiership, Champions League. It's the way the World Cup's done, internationals. It's something's being lost in football. It's all about the finances.
It is Kuva. But if I can just for a minute, just remove that kind of, I get it, right? If I can just kind of remove that kind of ethics side to this, if I look at it just from a point of view of, well, look, Newcastle they're gonna do bits, right? Naturally, they're going to do bits. The other clubs we're talking about are all either being sold or have been sold in this last sort of 10 years. They're all winning stuff, whichever way we like it. And I know what Spurs fans are great, right, boys? Spurs fans are great because I always get people going to me, oh, my God, look at Chelsea. We're better than them. And I'm like, right, guys, this is a snapshot of that versus that, right? Right now, all right, they're struggling. But you and I both know, right? Us three know, you keep pumping in money, sooner or later you're gonna find a formula that works. So what do we do, Sean? How do we look? You've always looked at it, on the fence. Hang on, Levy and Enoch done some great stuff, some not great stuff over here. Where are you with it now? Do we need to keep up with the Joneses?
I don't. Well, yes. I'm more worried about what happens if Liverpool get bought out than I am Man United, because Man United have always spent money anyway. Like, I don't remember Man United ever saying, "Sorry, he's too expensive."
No,
right?
true. True.
Whenever they've had enough, whenever they wanted someone, they've gone out and got the guy. I don't really understand why people hate the Glazers that much. If you're a football fan and you're a fan of Man United, and at your club, your owner, whilst I think it's abhorrent that they take all the dividends out, it doesn't generally affect Man United. They print so much money that they can go and buy anybody they want. They have no real wage structure, etc. They're paying Ronaldo whatever it is, 550 grand a week. So I don't really see what changes with some Emirati money coming into Manchester United. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that nothing really is going to be different there. But Liverpool for me is terrifying.
Man United, Sean, sorry, isn't the difference with Man United is that the Glazers have always spent, but I think it's that how the actual club has been run that they haven't actually had a plan.
Yeah,
and they haven't upgraded stadium and training facilities. New people coming in we don't know for sure, but could do that.
But having a new stadium, how much bigger does the stadium need to be? They've already 75,000. It's not going to affect their performance on the pitch, whether the toilets are nicer at Old Trafford or whatever, right? So that doesn't really concern me. Listen, you're right. Whether or not they're going to be run better and have better systems and youth development, all that stuff in place. Obviously, that's a threat, but it's the kind of intangible that you're not going to see it immediately. Whereas with Liverpool getting taken out, I think that changes the game because Liverpool have got one of the biggest brands, one of the biggest draws in football. Yeah, and whilst FSG have done a really good job for Liverpool to get them from where they were in 2008 when they almost went bust under the Hicks, whatever it was, ownership model, to where they are now. And it's amazing, last season they were competing. They won, was it two trophies, got to three finals and almost won the league. And yet, what a difference a year makes. Now the owners are getting handed out by fans who have got this "what have you done for me lately" mentality. If Liverpool do get bought out by Dubai money or Emirati money, I think that changes the game very much so because they do have a wage structure. They do live within their means. They were run pretty well, I always thought, but maybe I'm ignorant on that front. But if they come in and suddenly money doesn't matter anymore, they are 100% going to accelerate and accelerate far quicker than Newcastle did. Right, so that's a problem for me.
Is there a danger then, guys? That the 6 clubs I've named are obviously the big 5. I mean, if we're saying Spurs are in the big 6, whichever way you want to call it,
call it 7 and throw Newcastle in there as well, right?
Right, that's exactly what I was going to say. If we're saying that Spurs are in the big 6, are we now looking at a case of Newcastle are going to take that spot if we're not careful? Because it's all well and good, getting into the Champions Leagues like we do, and then we don't sustain it and we drop back down, and then we need a couple of years to get back up there. And as we talked about earlier on in the show, you're going to lose Kane, you're going to lose Son, Loris is going, you need a whole new defence, blah, blah, blah. Could this be a real, we said this earlier, Kuva, that it's always interesting. Could this be a real pivotal moment in time, guys, where if we don't strike now, we could be left so far behind these other clubs that Champions Leagues and any talks of winning things could completely go out the window for decades?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of a comparison to the start of the Premier League, because at that point, we as a club were nearly going bankrupt. We needed sugar to basically save us from the liquidation. And it's the same sort of deal here. Not quite as drastic that the club's going to go out of business, but we will be so far out in the wilderness. We won't have a prayer of competing with the top clubs anymore. It'll be 2 different leagues. They'll already have established a mini Super League within the Premiership. If it doesn't completely get abolished, then they do go on to the actual Super League. We've got to either join in with what they're doing, or we're out of it. We've lost it. We can forget it.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, we'll become one of those lower division teams, the equivalent of, even though we're in the Premiership.
We'd be the best of the rest, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
or maybe not
an occasional League Cup win or something. Kind of like now, really. So nothing changed.
No, but the interesting thing for me is so Chelsea are owned by the top bowler and his group. I don't think they've got a plan. I think he bought Chelsea $1 billion under like as a depreciative, distressed asset, and but he's come in and thrown a lot of money around, but he doesn't seem to have any real plan. So Chelsea are finding it a little bit hard to settle down in that regard. But you know that they'll figure it out eventually. For me, though, what I find really difficult is I don't know if this is going to sound. I hope that, and apologies, it's not supposed to sound in any way like controversial. But given the history of Tottenham Hotspur being a Jewish team or a Jewish club, I don't know if Arabic money would want to come in and buy Tottenham Hotspur like they would Liverpool or Manchester United or any of the other clubs, because of the history of troubles between the two, between Islam and Judaism in that part of the world. I don't know if that's. I hope that's not controversial. It's not meant to be. I'm just trying to.
No, it's an interesting point. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, that's why it'll be really interesting to see. I mean, not only now are we hearing, that it could be Saudi money or, as you said, Emirati money, etc. But you're hearing now, is Google interested in buying football clubs? So you're now talking about, are we looking at one man's wealth versus, sovereign states? I mean, I guess the thing for me would be how all I've heard is who would buy Spurs. I keep hearing this: who would buy Spurs? Who would buy Spurs? What we've just seen, surely, from the sale of Chelsea, right, is that the moment a top football club becomes available, the billionaires kind of, they must all start their WhatsApp groups. I can only imagine there's a WhatsApp group for billionaires. Anyone interested, I'll create a smaller WhatsApp group over here, right? And you know what I mean? We'll all
imagine that. Elon, Zuckerberg.
Yeah. We'll name it something like Sports Heritage International Group. And we'll buy a football club. But on a serious note, nice. We've just seen, right? Chelsea had, I don't know, how was it? 15 official bids they got before they whittled it down. Man United will get, I guess, the same, even slightly different, because obviously there was a deadline on the Chelsea one because of what happened. But if Spurs go, I suppose my question and what I'm getting to, guys, if Spurs were to go on the transfer market, if Spurs were to be part of the sale, right? Surely, with everything around the club, the stadium, the cash cow that we are, there's going to be so many suitors, isn't there, looking to want to buy Spurs and make money out of us.
You think so? It's not a fixer-upper, is it? It's not like you're not buying a house where you've got to tear out the insides and start again.
Exactly.
It's almost there. It just needs to be sort of polished on top. Put some decent.
It just needs a bit of furniture on that bit of grass.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
100%. No, I do think so, but I don't know if people get. I don't know if who's that Sir Jim Ratcliffe who tried to buy Chelsea, now trying to buy Manchester United. He's I think he's Britain's richest man. If he was to miss out on Manchester United, does the allure of buying Tottenham? Listen, I love Tottenham. If I was a gazillionaire, I'd buy Tottenham over Manchester United all day long. But I don't know if certain parties would. Like I said earlier, I don't know how the Middle Eastern thing would jive with that. I don't know how that would work. And then you've got American money, and I worry about American money because a lot of it's done with leveraged debt, and the debt markets are all over the place right now because of the interest rates going up and the inflation. It's very, very difficult for people. I speak to people in London that are in the debt markets, and they're saying that trying to put together $1 billion loan deal, like a loan package, a debt package to go and buy or invest in a certain company or whatever, it's very difficult to be able to predict what your interest payments are going to be because of the volatility in the interest market. So I don't know if American venture capital or leveraged debt would be the right way to go. And there's a very good example of a football club that was run really well by a family, and then they sold to leveraged debt in America, and all the fans thought, happy days, we're going to move into the next tier. And it's been an absolute disaster for them, and that's Burnley. Right? Burnley were run by a brilliant family. They sold for 150 million to a leveraged debt buyout team who put 20 million down and put 130 million on leveraged debt, and they put the entire company, the entire stadium, the training facilities, everything was collateral for that debt. And if Burnley don't make those interest payments, if they if they default twice, the entire club would go into administration. And so Burnley fans were sold a wrong, and they're thinking that they were going to move into the big time, and in reality, they just got interest payments to meet that are not fixed rates because of the volatility. So it's not always as good as it seems.
But it isn't the difference. I mean, I suppose I can completely agree with you, but Kuva, isn't one of the main differences that somebody that buys us, like Sean said, we're not a fixer-upper. We are from a football player point of view, but you don't need to go in and build a training ground. You don't need to go in and build a stadium. The club shop's beautiful. You know, all the NFL deals are there. The concerts are there. Isn't the allure of the amount of money that a new owner can make? Surely that's exciting. Also knowing that they would forever be loved by Tottenham fans if they could come in and actually win us something. Sure, is that an exciting challenge for these playboy billionaires that they're looking for their next thing to do, right? This isn't life or death for them. They're looking like Abramovich going to Chelsea. He didn't have to do that. He wanted to do that. So aren't we an exciting prospect from that point of view? Or am I clutching?
No, I think so. I'm also taking into consideration we're in London. London's a great place to be if you got money.
Yeah,
it's all happening. So you could tie it in with loads of other business interests, depending on who it is as well. Probably don't have to pay any tax on stuff as well. That seems to be another thing we do well over it. Not getting a bit off our subject now, though. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that will look at it if they've got billions to spare and they're looking for a plaything. Perfect. We'll just waltz in and start splashing cash around for fun. If they're looking for a longer term project, like I remember having the conversation with Shawnee way back, who would we have for owners? And I was mentioning the likes of Amazon, because you could tie it in for them doing their global brand,
right,
branching into sports, all the advertising and the TV, the revenues that go with it, and their own sort of streams, the documentaries and everything. They could go that a complete sports brand based around our club.
Those sorts of deals, though, are much, because those companies are listed on the stock exchange, publicly listed in America. They obviously have their own owners, right? So, like, the largest shareholder of Google isn't, the CEO of Google. It's going to be Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs or one of their particular funds. There'll be 8% here, 9% there, 3% there, etc. And so, if you want someone to spend money willy-nilly and have a little bit of like a recklessness with the disregard for value, which is what Newcastle and all those guys have got the ability to do, I don't think you can do that if you have an owner that is a company or even a person who is an investment fund that is listed on the stock exchange, because those guys have got their own paymasters and they have to make sure that everything looks neat and tidy and looks like they're doing the right thing, not necessarily the thing that Tottenham fans would always want. So
true. But on the other hand, I think if the backed by the likes of Morgan Stanley and people like that, Goldman Sachs, I think we'd be being run pretty well at that point.
It's finance guys, though, isn't it? They're not football guys. Same thing, though, right? Listen, I'm all for it. You know how I feel about Daniel. I'm on the verge. The original question was, is it time to sell? I would say yes. Like I'm kind of now, I guess you can call me Enoch out, but not for the same reasons as everybody else is. I still maintain I think they've done a really good job. I just think they've taken us as far as they can with their appetite for risk and this idea of trying to make ends meet and trying to compete with people where the biggest headache for those guys is to hide the sources of money, not to find the sources of money. To me, that is a battle that I don't think you can win anymore. And if Man United and Liverpool both get taken out by that sort of level of wealth, then there's only 4 or 5 spots available for the Champions League. And if 7 teams are competing for it and the other 6 have got endless sums of money and Tottenham are the 7th, run by people that try to, make ends meet, I don't think it's going to work out well. We'll be the 7th team. And
Sean, it means if like you said, I think that's a great point there. If you have got 7 teams then competing for what will be 4/5 places, it does mean that the 2 teams out of those 7 that have got the least readily available funds are going to have to be absolutely spot on with their recruitment. There's going to have to be a real direction at the club. There's going to have to be a real ethos, Kuva, where everyone's pulling in that right direction. All of the transfers are going to have to make sense. They can't be punts. It's all going to have to be calculated. And that's not us, is it? We've seen that we've been, with our recruitment, we've been very hit and miss over the last. I'm not saying there isn't a team that is never hit and miss, but we've been very inconsistent. We've had some great signings, but most of our signings have been, a lot left to be desired. So what happens to us then as a club? if we don't change, and if ENIC don't want to invest to the same rate as these other owners, because that's what it comes down to, Kuva, right? The other owners, it's not that they're more wealthy than what our owners can do. It's that their appetite is success. Their appetite is, I don't know whether it's ego or whatever, but they want success. Whereas our owners, have they ever shown they want the success versus the business acumen?
No.
Right.
that's just simple as that. End of the day, ENIC and Levy are here to make money. They've made no secret of that. That's what they do. It's what ENIC have always done. Right?
They can. Wait and see what the prices are. I bet you the Man United fee will be extraordinarily high because of the brand, right? And if that happens,
what does that mean, Sean? What number are you calling extraordinarily high? More than Chelsea?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah,
100% more than Chelsea.
Yeah.
Twice,
how much?
Twice Chelsea's. I think
Twice.
Chelsea was 3.3 billion, was it? I could be wrong on that number.
Yeah.
It's about 3.5 billion.
6.5.
Yeah.
Wow.
The brand is the amount of revenue that they bring in every year, just from like Asia alone, in just in various sponsorships and the merchandise that they sell around the world. It's insane the amount of money they have that they bring in, and they have a valuable squad and they have everything in place. They obviously, whoever comes in would need to have enough money to rebuild all those things we spoke about, the stadium and stuff. But that stuff doesn't affect our fortunes on the pitch. But whatever that number is, let's just call it 7 for argument's sake. Even though everything that was in the press this week suggested that Dubai were willing to pay 10 for it, 10 billion, which is mind-boggling numbers. If that happens, and then that then sets the benchmark, right? And Daniel Levy goes, well, hang on a second, let's compare situations, right? We've got 700 million or whatever it is of debt, but the stadium is probably worth $1 billion. It can generate X amount of revenue from this, that, and the other. Tottenham squad is worth this. The value of the contracts that are left on this, that, and the other. They'll do all the numbers, and they'll probably say if Man United is worth 10 billion, then Tottenham should be worth 6, right? And if Tottenham are worth 6 billion, if someone came along and paid 6 billion, considering that Levy and ENIC only put in 25 million back in 2002, to have a 250x return on investment in 20 years. Like, you've done all right, Mr. Levy. You've done okay, bro. Like, time to go.
Yeah.
Move on and let the next guy come in. Who that person is, I don't know. I think every answer has its own set of problems, potential hiccups, and headaches down the road. But I'm all for it. As long as the right guy, as long as the next person comes in, doesn't like destabilize the club's sustainability, then I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
I mean, Kuva, aren't we in a position now where, for new, look, we always hear grass is green on the other side. We hear that argument in all walks of life. But when we're talking about Tottenham, it's, look, better the devil you know. I think you use that, Sean, quite a lot. But let me sit on the fence here with that argument. If we're talking about better the devil you know, how bad would a new owner have to be, Kuva, to mess it up? Because it's there. The money's rolling. The money's there. The stadium's going to be full week in, week out. The Skywalk's there. The concerts aren't going anywhere. The boxing's not going anywhere. The NFL's not going anywhere. How bad would they have to be to come in and absolutely make a mess of it and be worse than them?
If it's somebody using the club as a plaything and they haven't earned their money in the first place, like say a rich son of an Arab that's made all the oil money, and they've got no worries in the world. They'll do whatever they want. Of course, they can mess it up inside a week. We could be absolutely destroyed in no time.
When I was 22, I got invited to a bar with a friend. We went out. We got in this random dude picked us up in a limousine. A friend of this guy who was the nephew or the great nephew of the Sultan of Brunei. Right, and he took us to this club, and there were bottles of Cristal everywhere. I promise you, we were messed up within about 10 minutes. These guys don't know when to stop, and they treat everything like it's with a scant disregard.
You'd like to think that anybody with this sort of money, in some way, shape, or form, will surround themselves with people that can make things work, right? I mean, I know that's in an ideal world, but you'd like to think that whoever's going to come in and buy these clubs isn't just going to buy the club. They're going to come in with a plan of, right, how do we get the fans on board? Right, we need to get football people involved. So, for example, if I was buying Man United, I would be looking and going, right, which Man United legends can I get involved in the football side? Van der Sar, yeah? The Gary Nevilles. I'd be looking and saying, right, how can we get these people incorporated to any new plan? Why could we not do something
you think,
like that?
though, like, is there not the risk? Like, Chelsea's owner came in and wanted to stamp his authority and didn't listen to anybody, right? He came in and just bought players, like, whoever it was. He asked Thomas Tuchel, who is it you want? And they just went and bought, Koulibaly and all these guys. And then the second it didn't work out, then, Tuchel's gone. Next cab off the rank comes in. Are they the right players for him?
Yeah,
and I wouldn't like some people that have that extraordinary wealth have such an ego and an arrogance that they want to come in and do things their way, even though they have absolutely no knowledge of football or no, understanding of what's best. And that could in and of itself be a disaster as well.
It's kind of like you want one of these money no object owners to be an American and take the American style of doing business over the years, which is always, if there's a problem, you throw money at it. If there's still a problem, you throw even more money at it. Just keep going until the problem goes away. But you do need somebody that's got enough sense about them to have a right-at man like a Smithers. That one that actually knows what's going on and who to get in to make things work for them. So that's exactly your sort of setup with me.
Yeah.
Who would the Smithers be, Kuva?
Glenn Hoddle for me. He'd do it.
But you see what I'm saying, guys. I mean, I just feel like we're at the stage where, look, I've openly been ENIC out for 15 odd years, but I'm at the point now where for me it's not even oh my god, we've not won anything in 22 years, or we've won one trophy in 22 years, they've got to go. I'm now looking at it from the point of view that all the other clubs, there's something happening other than Arsenal. All the other clubs have got relatively new owners or are being sold, if I'm not wrong. Newcastle, Chelsea, new owners. Man United, Liverpool, selling. City's owners have been there, 5-6 years, 7 years. We've had owners for 22 years, and I just can't see that they're going to suddenly go, Sean, all right, all these other clubs have been taken over. We're now going to pump in billions. I just can't. It's not them, is it? It's not. No,
it's definitely not. They're one of the things I've always said about the ownership is their appetite for risk is not where it should be on the spectrum. If you want to own a football club, they're property guys generally. I know. What's his name? Joe Lewis made a lot of his money in the currency markets when he was a lot younger, like a lot younger, 50 years ago, 40 years ago. But ever since he made all that money, he moved into property, took away he got out of risk and put into Sakers houses. And I don't know if that's the right model for football ownership. And it certainly doesn't. I don't think it's the right model if you're trying to compete with guys, like I say, that have got a disregard for it. So there's I still don't think they've done a bad job. I think they've done a very good job. But I think that now it's time to hand the baton over and figure out whoever the next one is. And to Andrew Tate. Hi, mate. It is a vape, and I know Andrew Tate has a big problem with people that vape.
Just quickly, so we're going to go for another 6 minutes. We're going to go for 6 more minutes. Andrew Tate, brilliant. We've had Andrew Tate, Anthony Joshua. I get Tyson Fury comes in. There's some great ones.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer comes in every now and then. Yeah. Everyone loves to see Jeffrey in the chat.
Big up, Jeff. Big fan.
Big up, Jeff. Yeah. Savva's mum comes in every now and then and all that sort of stuff. So it's all good fun. Thank you for the super chat. And Sean, is it a vape?
Yeah, this was a vape. Yeah, this is a vape. Yes. Yeah.
Superb. So to round this off, guys, we're going to go 5 more minutes to round this off. Look, how quickly are we looking at these things to take effect? And what I mean by that is, obviously, Newcastle, in just 1 year of having their owners, literally have had their new owners, 13, 14 months now, have gone from a club that were bottom of the table that can't win a game for love nor money to a club that look like they've got a good recruitment strategy, which hasn't, the worrying thing, I think, backing off of this is it hasn't just been throwing loads of money at top players. It's actually buying the right players to a club that are now sitting in the top four.
They spent less than us in the last 12 months.
Right. They're sitting in the top 4, having spent less than us, and already are seeing the rewards. Now, so how quickly can we see this evolve if Liverpool get new owners, Man United get new owners? How quickly could we be left behind if we do not do this soon?
Well, this is the crux of it for me. I've never had a problem with the amount of money we invest in the team. It's what we do with that money has always been the problem.
Right.
It's always the lack of direction and therefore the lack of consistency in what sort of players we're bringing in. So we end up with these mismatch of squads, mishmash of all sorts of different playing styles and dysfunctional teams because we lack that direction. There's no identity to the team, no identity to our football. Even now, could you say we're playing as a Conte side? I'd say we're not.
No.
So what are we going to do? We need to fix that. We just got to get a clear plan, the definition of what this club is, what we're trying to do, where we're going, how we're going to get there. All of these things, I've never had a sense of that in the last 30 years. Not just Enoch, under Sugar as well. It's always a bit of guesswork. It's throwing a bit of money here and there, but never really what's needed.
And I think that's the funny thing, Kuva, is when it's not actually funny, but like when people talk about Man City's owners, it's all well and good having that money, but what Man City have done, aside from just having money, is they've put an ethos and a process in place. Their youth teams now are following the Ajax Barcelona model of all of their youth teams play the same way, so that when Pep brings them through, he slots them in, and you've seen that with the young players he's brought in this year in Champions League games. He's brought young players in; they play the same way as the first team, and they have good recruitment. And it's easy to have money and have bad recruitment, but unfortunately, we're still going to get fans saying, "Oh, we want to do it the right way," but is there a right way to do it anymore, Kuva? Does that exist? What is it? What is the right way?
No, to compete at the top now, you throw ethics out the window, don't you? Because everybody else is doing it. It's like playing by the rules in a boxing match when your opponent's cheating and putting resin on underneath the gloves and things like that. You're going to get beaten. So. Question is, how far do we want to go with it? Because even now, you could argue, well, we were taken over by these people with a huge financial clout in the first place. Mm-hmm. So, have we falsely been raised to this level we're at the moment? You could even argue that, because if it was really organically, it would have been done by the fans and all the money going over the turnstiles and in the old days had created all this, but it hasn't been that way. No. So choose your poison, really. Go all in and go for the big investor with billions to throw around, or struggle along like we are doing and try and keep a moral high ground, which I don't think we've really got anyway. For me, I've always been an advocate for it. I know some of my biggest critics in the fact he's not here today, it was saying it can't really do the Ajax way in the Premier League, and I disagree. I think he definitely can. I think it's crying out for
Man City proving it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Pep's success at Barcelona was because he started off taking the youth teams and the B teams and the C teams and getting them all playing this way. So when he did take over as first team coach, he just brought these players in that he taught to play that way.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. Just give them time and actually put people in place in your development squad that are going to bring that sort of player in. Get your scouting network done, and you bring them in for the players are out there. It's not like youngsters are no longer able to play football. And as you said, look at Man City. Look at them youngsters coming through. Liverpool the same. United, you see some every now and then coming through.
I'll tell you what, Kuva, as well. This is the thing for me, right? Is when we talk about a quick fix, I don't think there is any quick fix at Tottenham Hotspur, by the way.
No.
And this is why when I bring it full circle to the whole Conte thing, I don't think there's a quick fix that we give him 2 windows, he wins leagues. I don't think it is that. And that's where my whole point, bringing this all back to kind of Conte not being the right fit for Tottenham for me, is I don't see a plan that's ever going to be built under this manager. Yeah. So even if we got him some players and he won a few things, I truly believe when he goes that there's still no underbelly there. And at some point, this club needs to have an underbelly. We need to have a youth team that's producing players that can come into the first team. We need to have one style of football that when we then go and get the next manager and the manager after that and the manager after that, they are all similar ilk, like to a lesser extent, like what Brighton have just done. Potter played football. The next manager plays a very similar brand. So there's no huge disruption. The club isn't now going, oh my God, well, he attacked, he now defends. And that is why I don't want the project. Sorry, I know people are going to hate me. That's why I don't want the project to be under Conte, because I don't see the long-term sustainability in it. But Sean, let me give the last word to you for the last minute of the show. Is this something you see happening imminently, or is this just us speculating because the other clubs have announced in the last 2 months, respectively, for Liverpool, Man United, that they are up for sale? Are we clutching that this could happen?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that Man United sale, that those things don't happen very quickly. Even the Chelsea deal that was hurried, that was really hurried, still took 6 months or 5 months to get done from the moment the invasion happened with Russia into Ukraine, before Todd Bowley took the keys to Stamford Bridge. I think it was about 4 or 5 months, and that was a hurried rush transaction. So I'd imagine that Man United, Liverpool, even if they're actively seeking out interested parties and bids are going in right now, I would imagine that nothing's going to change in that regard until well past this new window, this transfer window at least, right? So it will be next summer when they start to do work, and we'll have to wait and see what the numbers look like. The higher the numbers that for either of those two clubs, the more likely I think that Daniel Levy in it would probably go, all right, if we can get something similar to that, or even a little bit lower, then that's a good selling, a good price to sell at. So apart from that though, apart from just speculating on that, I do think we are just sitting there clutching at straws, hoping that ENIC and Levy are ready to go. They may or may not be, who knows? But for me, I don't think anything's going to happen that's going to affect Liverpool or United's output or outcomes until next season or until the summer. So Tottenham have got the rest of this season to cement themselves in the Champions League or to go further, whatever. And that starts and finishes with a good transfer window for me. That's the most important priority right now. Not worrying about Levy selling the club, but worrying about Levy backing the club in the window.
Yeah, I mean, Kuva, last word. I kind of agree with Sean. Obviously the window is very, very important, but this feels like this would have been the, I don't know, 60th, 70th, 80th window in a row that we've said that. Do you agree with that? Would you swap 2-3 years of absolute nothing, no European football, selling Kane and Son, for new owners that actually come in and put a process in place that mean we can build for the future?
Yeah, I would. It's great to look at the short-term stuff, but if you're talking about changing the entire culture and mindset of this club, yeah, I'll be prepared for a bit of pain, for even relegation. If that's what it took. Yeah, if that's what it took.
Really?
If that's what it took to guarantee that we had a future where there's always a consistent direction, style of football. We know what to expect from players coming in.
You'd go down in the same direction. You happen to go and play at Roots Hall on a Saturday night, would you?
If that's what it takes.
Unbelievable.
If that's what it would take, yeah. I mean,
that's Southend United, isn't it?
Besides, you can start off your trophy hall with the championship trophy, couldn't you?
I just think, and people don't want to hear this, right? But this is where I like to think. I always think further forward than right now, and that's why when people say to me things like, "Oh my God, look, we're better than Chelsea," and look how close we are to City, it's always in a snapshot of time, right? It's always that one moment, not the actual direction of the club or the long-term period. For years I've heard, well, we finished above Liverpool for 9 out of 10 years. Yeah, but then look what Liverpool went and done. We finished above Arsenal.
It's that conversation from earlier in the show, isn't it, Savva? We're talking about eventually Kane and Sonny will not be at this club.
Exactly.
This is part of this conversation for me. I'm thinking that far forward.
Is that why I never actually heard the first half of the show. Is that why Richarlison is? Was that what your conclusion was, that Richarlison is the future Harry Kane?
We were just saying. I mean, look, we don't know, right? It all depends. If Kane wants to sign a new contract, then great. But if he doesn't, then Richarlison looks like he's the successor. But I mean, the bigger picture to all of this, right, guys, is like Kuva just said: Son and Kane aren't going to be here forever. Lloris has now, his time is surely this has got to be the last season where he's first choice, surely, right? When you look at that, that's our best two players, that's our goalkeeper and our captain. That's four huge things: goalkeeper, captain, best two forwards. We've got no defence around that. I worry that Kane and Son, for the last 6-7 years, I've said this over and over again, have really papered over what has put a plaster over what was major surgery that's been needed, and that has made people think we're a much better football team than what we actually are. And I know that sounds harsh, I know it does, but if it wasn't true, we would have won some things, right? If it wasn't true, we would have got over the line with these players. But
Kuva, just real quick, you do realise that if we did get relegated, our promotion back into the Premier League would come via second spot. we wouldn't win the championship to get the trophy. We come through in second.
It would be the playoffs. We do it the hard way.
Yeah. But the playoffs, last pick of the game, it's a VAR decision.
Yeah. We do the playoffs. I mean, it's an interesting one, guys. Like, as I said, I've done a bit of a. I don't know if this would be classified as a 180 or a 360. Look, in all the time I've known you guys, all I said, I just want trophies. I've literally got to the stage now where I accept that is not coming soon, and I just want to see the club going in the right direction. And I don't mean that in terms of, we've got a manager who stays at clubs for 2 to 3 years, that's the right direction. For me, that's not the right direction. For me, again, sorry, and people in the chat, please tell me if I'm wrong here, Antonio Conte, for me, isn't the right direction. Antonio Conte, for me, not anything against him, is another plaster. I don't feel that it's the right way for this club moving forward for the long term.
Eddie Howe would have been great, wouldn't he? He would have been a long-term, 7-8 year kind of project guy.
Who's that?
Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe would have been. Yeah, I mean, this is where we are now. So, look, I'll round this off by saying, look, David needs to chuck hundreds and hundreds of millions at Conte, let him get top players right now, and we win some things. Or I don't think that this club is going in the right direction. And the whole, but we're fourth, that debate, I see past that, I see through that. But guys, it's been a pleasure. Sean, you're going to host the show Sunday night, right? Are you still good to?
Yes.
Yeah, guys. So I will not be around for the Spurs review, but Sean will be hosting for me. So please join David, Kuva, Sean, and Pete at 7:00 on Sunday night. Sean, anything else you want to say before we go? Anything about anything?
Nope, I'm all good.
Perfect.
Come on, England, I guess.
I'll just reiterate one thing Sean said, and that's about the transfer windows are the most important thing at the moment, because we've got a team that badly needs fixing, and it's going to take a long time. If we slack off anymore, we'll be even further behind.
Yeah. No, absolutely. As I said, I think it's just I'm getting to that age now where I don't get easily fooled by a snapshot of time. I think there's probably a better phrase than what I'm saying, but a brief moment of history. There you go. Sean, thank you so much. Kuva, thank you very much. If anyone else is wondering, I don't know if Kuva is, I'm wondering what is in the DHL box on Sean's table there.
It's been there for a month. It's a camera. That Dave and Jack from the Irish Hotspur, their producer, the guy in the background, Nick Lazy 8, great guy. He's like really into photography, and he's got this amazing camera that he reckons could upgrade my visuals and all that stuff. And he didn't need it anymore, so he DHL'd it to me. But because my Wi-Fi's been shit and I haven't even moved into my new studio thing downstairs yet, I haven't bothered getting it out of the box. So hopefully it'll be cool when I finally get around to opening it and setting it all up.
Is somebody playing with a cone?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
First time he did it, I thought somebody let rip.
No.
Apparently,
Well,
according to the comments, Serotonin's dog has been letting rip at home.
Oh yeah.
Serotonin was talking about his dog. He's disgusting. He's got tears in his eyes. Anyway, guys, everyone enjoy their evenings. If anyone is watching England, enjoy. It's the same 11 that started the other night. If I was Phil Foden, I'll be honest, I would change nationality. But other than that, guys, much love. I will speak to you all soon. And I'm off to join a WhatsApp group full of billionaires. So I will see you later.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
See you later. Bye-bye.